So there we have it, 10 games that should make any VR fan excited for the next year. Uh, but Roots, what if I were to tell you that there were 10 more games
What?
that we've known for a while are coming that have kind of gotten tossed to the side and maybe not talked about as much as they deserve? Awesome games. Not just okay looking games, but really awesome looking VR games that have largely gone unspoken about for the last few months. What would you say to
I
that?
would say you're crazy, and somebody should put you in an insane asylum. No, I agree, man. It's one of those things that there's so many games that have came out that are good, and then all the ones that we just talked about, it kind of gets overshadowed, and especially with Alyx, man, everything kind of just disappeared, man. Nobody knows what the hell is coming out. So
Yeah, everybody's got this singular focus on really, really about 5 games. We stretched it out into 10 there because we live inside the bubble, and these are the 10 that people keep talking about. But outside the bubble, the casuals, I mean, they're talking about Half-Life Alyx. They're talking about Saints and Sinners. They're talking about Medal of Honor. Sometimes they're talking about Iron Man if they have a PlayStation VR, and that's pretty much it. Um, but what about a game like Sniper Elite VR? This is a game coming to us from Just Add Water, Q2 2020. Just like most of these, that's the estimated window for this one. This Roots is a multi-platform VR game, but in my mind, this is a PSVR game, right?
yeah, just because like the aim controller, right? Being able to actually
Right.
hold your controller in there. And I don't know, I mean, I guess if you have a gun stock, it could be good for PC as well, but I don't have a gun stock. I do have an aim sitting over there. And I think it definitely would be one of those games that benefits from being on PlayStation VR.
Yeah, if you were going to say, all right, here's a gun controller for VR, I want you to go and make a game for this controller. It would be a game like this, right? A sniper adventure game. So you're moving through the campaign. It's an adventure game, but the action is rifle based shooting, right? With a scope. That's what makes the aim controller so awesome, is the fact that you're holding the gun in your hands, you hold it up to your eyes, and you're looking down the sights. And if you do that with 2 disconnected controllers, it just doesn't feel right. It feels weird to hold one object in the virtual world while you're holding 2 objects in the real world. And yes, gun stocks probably would work great, but gun stocks are expensive, and they have to be supported by the game developer to work correctly. This we know is largely being developed for the aim controller, and it isn't very often I say that I'm going to buy a cross-platform game on PlayStation VR, but I think that's going to be the case here, Roots. I think that I'm getting Sniper Elite for PlayStation because I can't think of any other way that I want to play this more than with my aim controller.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. And that scope, man, that I have not seen a scope that looks better than that scope for a sniper gun. Usually that in VR just doesn't feel right, doesn't work. And that just looks, I mean, from what we can see anyway, I'm not in the game, but it looks like it's designed very well. So
it's because when you're using 2 controllers to hold a virtual rifle, it wobbles, it vibrates naturally because your hands aren't connected. They're just kind of moving separately. And the game doesn't account for that. Most of them don't anyway. So that manifests in drift with the scope, and you can't have that, especially if you're in a precision shooting game,
yeah, true.
So definitely looking forward to this. I've said it before. When you have these first person shooter games, I tend to gravitate toward the sniper rifles and the long range weapons. I always have. I'm more of a stealthy shooter than a in your face type of battlefield guy. I always go for the rifle over the shotgun. You know what I'm saying?
I'm always going for machine gun. I want rapid. I want multiple bullets because the first 5 that miss you, the next 5 will hit you.
Now, see, that's the difference. I don't miss.
Yeah. So.
One to the dome. One to the dome's all it takes. And you don't ever know that I was even there.
Oh God.
It's like
this game was made
you're
for
having
you,
you're having your cigarette on your patrol, and then you're just dead. You didn't even know that the guy was there. That's how
Weasel
does
Yeah,
it.
Weasel just came and killed your ass. Damn.
See you in the next life, bad guy. See you in hell. All right. Speaking about seeing people in hell, Undead Citadel. Where did this one go? People were pumped for Undead Citadel because look at it, dude. This is your non-stop hack and slash Evil Dead simulator. This looks like Army of Darkness VR, doesn't it?
Yeah. Is this it kind of looks like Dark Souls of VR almost. Is this a story based or is it just? I mean, that looks very amazing, right? Kind of looks like what was that arena one we just did recently, but not an arena.
Right, it's a Hellsplit.
Yeah,
yeah. This looks like. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some loose story to it, but this game's going to be all about the action. It's going to be very linear, arcade-based hack and slash. Fun. It's going to be all about the gameplay in this one, I think.
Wow, it looks amazing. Yeah, it makes me want to play it. Let's do it.
It does too, and again, this one was kind of sold during E3 as being a PlayStation game. I mean, it's a cross-platform game, but when we saw that footage from E3, that was supposed to be PlayStation footage, and it was just next level looking stuff.
Wow, that's crazy. It looks amazing.
Yeah. I agree. It looks like a very simple game concept, but the combination of the high pace action gameplay and the beautiful looking graphics, I think is going to make it a fun experience. So looking forward to this one a lot, actually.
Yeah.
One that kind of just came from out of nowhere, from being completely off the radar to being one of the year's most anticipated releases, Vertigo 2. I never played Vertigo 1. Most people said it was decent. Then we got this demo for Vertigo 2, and Roots, this looks like my kind of strangeness. I'm starting to see some weird crap in this, and you know me, I love the weirdness.
Yeah, it's got a lot of puzzles, a lot of guns, a lot of gunplay, a lot of just difference to me. I didn't play the first one as well, but I guess that with the remastered, I probably will. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this as well.
Yeah, that's something else, and something else 2020 is bringing us is Vertigo Remastered. So they build this engine for this game. Again, this is from Zalubo Productions. This guy, Zach, who worked at Valve for a couple of years, is the creator of Vertigo 2. So he wrote all the assets and things for this game, and then rather than just release this game and let it stand on its own and be its own cool new thing, he went back and redid his first game, completely redid it. So before we get Vertigo 2, we're going to get Vertigo Remastered, and it's like a 2-for-1, right?
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, I'm kind of glad I didn't play it the first time now. And like you said,
yeah, it's one of these things, right?
Yeah, it's weird as hell, man. Just the guys with the hands for faces, that's kind of creepy.
Look at that guy. This whole thing is just weird, man.
Yeah.
I think we have an early front runner for the 420 award next year, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's kind of weird. Is that a Vive symbol on the back of his jacket, or look like a triangle?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows, brother? Who knows? It makes sense if you think about the title, Vertigo. What is Vertigo? And if you're going to have a title like Vertigo, you probably should have some gameplay that might induce vertigo, right?
Yeah, true.
So aptly named, or at least it appears to be so, another one of the year's most anticipated releases, Vertigo 2 and Vertigo Remastered. All right, and then we come to Jay and our good friends at Stonepuck Studios with a few different things coming out this year. First of all, I heard that they were going to redo Primordian, which absolutely blows my mind because that game is already so great and so beautiful. We learned that they were going to not only finish Primordian this year, but they were going to completely overhaul the already beautiful graphics. Which, what? Why would you do that? Anyway, I believe him. He says he's going to make it better, so I'm sure it will be absolutely stunning. But then we get word of Tarzan VR. Roots, it's episodic. It's got this cell shaded comic book looking style to it. The jungle is very reminiscent of Primordian, just this vast junglescape for you to live in and explore. But unlike Primordian, we get to swing from the trees, brother, and fly through this thing like George of the Jungle. Yeah, man, pretty excited here. What about you?
Yeah, just anything that brings back nostalgia to your childhood is amazing. You know, I don't know, man. I remember Tarzan just from being a kid on TV, you know, the actual TV show. And I just think I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with this because I don't know much about it except for it's Tarzan and Stone Punk Studios. And we know Stone Punk, like you said, does amazing things with their games. So it is exciting to see and kind of psyched.
Yeah, me too. The gameplay is going to be kind of arcadish, and I do think that the game is going to be released in episodes. So, like, we're going to get episode 1, and from what I understand, we're going to get it fairly soon. This is a Q1 release for the first episode of Tarzan VR. I don't know how long it's going to take for it to progress, but not long before we get the first episode, they continue to promote this thing more and more heavily. I'm seeing more and more of it. The more I see of it, the better it looks and the more excited I get for it. So this one's coming soon.
Oh, cool.
Okay, Roots. Well, we have Primordian, big, awesome jungle game. We've got Tarzan, big, awesome jungle game. But when I think about the upcoming titles from Stone Punk Studios this year, I don't think that I'm as hyped for these two as I am for the Disciples of Dawn. This game we learned about back in E3 this past summer. And, you know, we didn't get much. We got this one very stylized, artistic trailer. But this looks like it's very story-driven. It looks like it's very dark. And you know me, I love the dark games. And this one has an ominous feel to it. And if I had to pick one Stone Punk game that I'm really looking forward to, it would be this one.
Yeah, this one kind of, for me, you know, to Disciples of Dawn, I was thinking vampires, or it's showing the big moon, maybe werewolves. But what it really made me do is it made me speculate in my mind of what game I would really like to see. Now, before you balk at it, imagine a Twilight game and you can be Edward and you can sparkle. Now that to me would be next level. But it kind of gives me a Twilight vibe for some reason. I don't know, up in the woods and stuff. And I don't know. It's weird.
Dude, I barely know who Edward is. Okay.
Oh.
And I know for reasons that I'm not going to get into here, but it's not because I've watched these movies. But I do like vampires, and I do think that not just that a vampire game would be cool, but it's time for vampires to come back into culture a little bit. We need a good vampire movie, not a teeny bopper movie like Twilight, like a legit vampire movie, a horror movie, in games. And this looks like it could be it. Definitely some kind of game set a few hundred years ago. Definitely you're going to be fighting some kind of dark evil in this game, whether it be vampires, werewolves, or even humans. It looks cool. It looks like a dark forest that you're going to be running for your life through, trying to get back inside the castle walls and not die. And I think that's it's very compelling to me.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like you were saying, it could be bloodsucker vampires or it could be human politicians sucking the blood out of you. Either way, it's still scary and unwanted. So, but
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Definitely a very highly anticipated game for me. I want to see more soon, hopefully. But Q3 is the estimation on this one.
okay.
So Stonepunk Studios not the only ones taking a darker turn. We're also seeing the same thing from Carpent Studios with their next release, The Wizards Dark Times. And you want to talk about a progression with sequels? We've talked about it before, how these developers, they tend to get better as they go. This game here looks absolutely stunning. This is another one that Gamertag got to try out. He confirmed as much. Just a beautiful game. And dark, man. This game looks way more dark than the original Wizards game. And where I really wasn't all that interested in the first Wizards, I'm hella interested in this one. I can't wait to check this game out.
It looks phenomenal. Looks just graphically amazing, right? And I can only imagine how much better it looks in the headset.
Yeah, it looks beautiful from this trailer, and this is something we've noticed in even like not even the best games look great now. Like some of the biggest indie games that kind of fall off to the wayside are just beautiful. Like having great graphics isn't that special anymore. And I think that's a great thing, right? The games are starting to look this good in VR.
Yeah, it's getting to the point now where it's becoming the norm, and that's why it's like we've said, it's some of the older games are becoming harder to palate. It's just like, nah, I can't taste that. I'm going to something else. So,
but on top of just looking and sounding beautiful, this game seems like it has some real evil stuff going on in it. And you know me, evil games are number one in my book. And you're going to let me fight some evil, let me try not to get killed by the hands of some evil. Sign me up. I'm down for it.
yeah, it looks like it's going to be a pretty good story too, from what at least this bit that I've seen. So,
and look at those hands, bro. This has hands.
yeah. Well, just doing any spells is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, magic in VR is one of the coolest things that you can do, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so what is that? Game number 16 now coming in 2020 that we're hyped for. I've got more Roots. What about Lo-Fi? I've already paid for this one. I think it looks so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this game is, I definitely are. I actually need to reminds me, I need to go and check out the alpha build because we have access to that and we actually want to do that for one of the shows. So the more I see this game, the more I'm excited to see it and see what the full-fledged game will be.
Yeah, the guys at Iris VR are making big progress on it. Every time that I see something new, like a new piece of footage from it, it's like they've jumped leaps and bounds from the last time I saw it just a short time ago. Blair's very active on Twitter, and he's very proud of his game. So, yeah, like you, it's been a while since I've been in there. I'm not one that likes to spoil something like this that I'm so highly anticipating. Very much, that is, but I am curious, and they've had enough time in it now that I would kind of like to go in and see where that empty shell that we saw just a few months ago has gone, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Because basically it was just an empty city before. There were a few characters in it, but they were just, they were just standing there. So I'm sure that this one's coming along beautifully, and it's one of the most highly anticipated games of the year, especially when you start looking into indie games, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's Cyberpunk, you know, there's no other Cyberpunk games coming out, right?
Well, that's the thing. You know, there's been this lack of a great Cyberpunk VR game, and then Lo-Fi Kickstarter comes out, and now all of a sudden, you know, we've got all these great looking Cyberpunk games coming. For example, there's LONN, right? Not long after the Lo-Fi Kickstarter concluded, we found out about this game, and the you know, the of the few criticisms that we had of Lo-Fi, it seems like that those are this game's strong points, right?
Yeah, actually, I saw this game and I was like, man, I was psyched for Lo-Fi. Now I really am psyched for LONN. Not that I'm not psyched for Lo-Fi. I already, like you said, I already bought it. You know, just have to wait for it to come out. But I don't know. This one looks different. Looks like it might actually have more of a story to it, and that's kind of exciting. You know, I want to see a really good cyberpunk story. You know.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, you know, while it's the same setting and the same theme, I think we've got two very different games here. I think that the Lo-Fi is probably going to have a bigger world. It's definitely going to be a lot more freedom in it to go around and do what you want. Whereas this game is going to be more of a traditional game. It's going to be linear. There's going to be a story to it. There's going to be, you know, a clear set of objectives, and you're going to achieve those through violence and walking the path that the game sets out for you. Both very compelling concepts and both very highly anticipated games.
Yep.
And there's more. There are other awesome looking cyberpunk games that are yet to really be announced or promoted, but those are coming up in the next few weeks and months. We'll get back to those, and I'll remind you of this video when I bring it up. But there's another one in specific that I can think of. It's really cool looking, but it's still in the very early stages, so I'm just going to leave it at that for right now.
Cool.
Firmament. This is a game coming to us from Cyan Incorporated. And really what the most exciting thing about this game is the developer. We know what these guys can do. These are the guys who brought us Myst, who brought us Riven, and later Abduction. These are very creative guys, Ruuts, not only in the type of stories that they write and the worlds that they create and the puzzles that they do. This is going to be their first built from the ground up VR game that they intended to be VR. You know what I'm saying? Abduction has a VR mode. I feel like this is their first VR game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And Abduction was a really good game. Actually, Cyan was just raving about how great it is after they just did a new patch for optimization. And I know exactly. I haven't gone back in since they did the patch, but I played it when I first got into VR, or maybe it was a year ago, and it had some jank. Like if you moved around a little bit, just even stepped aside, you would end up being off a little bit, and so you were running into walls that weren't there and stuff. So I'm sure all that's fixed now. But the one thing that I know about Abduction and Myst is those puzzles are fucking hard, man. They're thinking puzzles. It's not a you know, if you're not into puzzles, it's not a game to go into lightly, but the story is amazing as well. And so I'm kind of psyched to just seeing what I'm seeing of this and knowing what I know of Myst and Abduction. I am really psyched to see what this will be.
Yeah, it's crazy. These guys, how talented they are. They're so creative. Their games always have this surreal science fiction slash fantasy feel to them. It's almost like they have their own genre, right? And as creative as the worlds and the stories are, the puzzles are just as creative. And when I think about people like this, really thinking about how they can use VR to create puzzles, it really makes me wonder, how great can this possibly be? We could see stuff from this game that we've never seen before in a game. And that's very, very exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Because everything that we saw in Abduction was already made in a game for flat and brought over. Where, like you said, now they can think outside the box and they can maybe do some things with the puzzles that we just haven't seen. I think that's a really good idea or good thought, and I think we're going to be seeing some of that. So,
yeah. There's a lot of when you start talking about moving out of the realm of 2D and into the realm of 3D, not only video but audio. I just said it that's a whole other dimension that these genius developers have to play with. You know what I mean? It's a whole other dimension of complexity that they can incorporate into a puzzle. And when you start thinking about video and audio, that's two more dimensions that they can incorporate into their puzzles. So very excited to see what these people are working on. Hopefully it doesn't have the optimization issues that Abduction had, but I feel like they probably have learned from their mistakes, and like so many other second efforts in VR, like we've been talking about already in this episode, I feel like they're going to improve upon their first initial experience.
yeah, I agree.
All right, so one more title that I'm looking forward to this year, and it's a bit of a different title, kind of like Firmament, but kind of nothing like Firmament, is Separation. Roots, I'm going to use what a lot of people consider to be a dirty word here, but if you do a walking sim the right way in VR, I still think that it can be a very rewarding experience. And I thought at first I was going to put Paper Beast into this slot as a PSVR exclusive to round out our list, but if I'm being honest, I'm anticipating Separation a lot more highly than Paper Beast. And yeah, while it's true that this is more of an experience, something that you're going to walk through and view, I think that it looks way more compelling to me than the paper mache creatures that we're seeing from the Paper Beast promo material.
So when you say walk-in sim, like, what is the point? I mean, is it really like just, is there a story to it? Is just walking through, or do you know? I mean, so I don't mind if there's something to it story wise, or there's a reason to go through. But like there's those ones that are literally just walking around, and it's like, no, I don't want to. Weird.
Did you enjoy Here They Lie?
Oh yeah, it was good. It was weird. So
that's a walking sim.
Yeah, but there was also a story told there, I think, right?
Well, most of them do have a story. I mean, obviously we're not just going in to check out a slideshow.
Oh, maybe.
If people have the balls to put out a game that has absolutely zero interaction in it, there's normally something to look at in it, and or at least it's been my experience. I haven't tried many bad ones, but then again, up until the point where I was reviewing games, I never really played anything without knowing first what I was getting into. So I'm sure there's some bad ones out there, just like there's bad in every genre. But this one intrigues me. I'll just read the description off really quickly here, how they describe Separation. Recluse Industries, by the way, bringing this one out, and well, I lost it.
Comes out what, mid-February? They say was estimate.
Mid-February. That's actually news. It just dropped a day or two ago. They announced that they're working on a pre-release patch right now with some visual improvements and minor bug fixes. Separation arriving around mid-February for PlayStation VR. At least at launch, it's a PSVR exclusive. But they describe this game as a spiritual journey of epic desolation and a search for illumination. So it seems like this journey is going to take you to some very dark places. And as I've already mentioned a couple times in this video, I'm all about going to dark places and then finding the light.
What's that floating dot?
I don't know.
It looked like
if it's present throughout, I imagine that this is probably a gaze-based thing where you can play it hands-free. You know what I'm saying? Like move controllers.
It's like you see, it's like an actual light source too. So it looks like it's actually it's in the game. Like I guess it is gaze-based. Yeah,
kind of like Golem or there's a few games like this where you could play it with a single button. You know what I mean? You just you walk along. You have a button to walk and a button to interact, and you interact with whatever you put the cursor on. You know what I'm saying?
Actually works pretty well for the Move controller. So.
Yeah, it actually does, and a lot of the time they let you have the option of whether or not you want to keep the reticle or get rid of it. So
he just turned it off.
Yeah, where'd it go, bro?
Yeah, it's gone, man. Case in point. Oh, there it is. Oh, thank God. Whew, I was a little scared there. I thought it was gone for
Where'd
good.
my little dot, buddy?
Yeah,
well, look, there's a glowing obelisk with lightning bolts coming out of it. I think we're going to have some stuff to look at here. It is a short game, roughly 2-hour journey here that we're going through. It reminds me a lot of Journey for Elysium, which I enjoyed. But I think it has potential to be even better than that.
So I get to row down the river Styx, or no? I guess it's a totally different experience, right?
I can't say. It looks like you're going to the ruins of the Epcot Center.
Yeah, it does look like the ruins of a smaller Epcot, maybe. Yeah.
Anyway, this is Separation. I just wanted to throw it in there because it's not only is it very different from most games on the list, but it's a PSVR exclusive, which is a rare thing these days. So
they picked a great
be
time.
on the lookout for that.
Great time to drop, right next to Iron Man. I guess.
Now they're hopefully they have the good sense to come out a couple of weeks ahead of Iron Man.
Yeah. So.
But it's going to be one of those deals. You know, you always see these indie developers saying, "Oh, we're going to release on PSVR around this time." And then that's the tweet that immediately precedes the next tweet, which reads, "Damn, Sony QA making me fix this, that, and the other thing." And then 3 months later, the game actually releases.
Yeah. Well, at least you got quality games out of Sony. So.
That's true. Most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
Look, obelisks growing out of the ground.
Each obelisk is lit. And it draws you closer to me. Oh, that sounds creepy.
Who's me?
I don't know.
George Washington?
Yeah, maybe it's
the Washington Monument was an obelisk.
Maybe it was. Maybe it was Ruuts. Like literally is me. I don't know. I doubt they're being drawn to me, but hopefully not. A little weird.
Well, maybe they are. And it's okay if they are, just so long as they subscribe when they get here.
Yes, yeah, you must subscribe and submit.
If you are alive, you must subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I say.
That's right.
That's what Johnny Cochran would say anyway.
Yeah.
All right, this thing is coming off the rails quickly enough. Let's go ahead and call it there. That was 10 more, we'll call it. 10 more games coming out in 2020. And you know what, Roots? You know what the cool thing about it is? I could have kept going. I could have done 10 more.
Yeah, and you know what the even cooler thing is there's 10 more. I guarantee that we don't even know fucking exist, like Westworlds and, I would say Doctor Who's, but that sucked. But, any game that just drops out of nowhere, you're like, what the hell is going on? That's what VR is. That's VR gaming for you.
Yeah,